Ian Rigby has this great question. When props are being created for movies and TV, especially high budget and popular ones, do the prop makers or prop masters consider that fans will replicate their props? It didn't used to be the case. It is much more the case now. And it's much more the case because more and more shops are being populated by people who went through a pipeline from fan to creator within the franchise that they're a fan of. There's a lot of that. There was a lot of that on the Ghostbusters set. There was a lot of that on the Expanse set. There was a lot of that. We have visited many sets in which that is the case. And he's actually even going farther and saying, do they think to themselves, we'll use this part because it's common to find and people recreate it? No. A prop master is looking for a good deal on something you haven't seen before. So they're going to go onto eBay. They're going to buy lots. They're going to buy stuff at, they're going to go to the rental house. They're on that front, they're going for what is fast and easy to execute their jobs. But now, again, like I said, you have more. We visited the Ghostbusters set where the guy I had bought an attenuator model from was working on the crew on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That's just super awesome. And actually, prop master of The Expanse, Jim Murray, totally started thinking that way after we visited the set the first time. And when we went back to The Expanse the second time, he was like, hey, we've been watching fans replicate some of the Expanse props, and we wanted to let you know you're doing too much work with the lights. We use these little dollar store blinky lights, nothing more elaborate than that. I really dig that. So I think, I wish that franchises would be more understanding about supplying stuff to their fandoms. It's this weird copyright thing. Because you have a lot of companies out there who understand how much of their success is based on their fandoms. And so they watch their fandoms build costumes and sell parts of those costumes to support their lifestyle and to do their stuff. And they don't really send cease and desist letters to many of those creators because they know they're not making a ton of money and they know that they're really important to the franchise, but they can't say that publicly. They don't say that publicly. And they don't supply things like, I mean, wouldn't it be great if a movie came out and there was some hero prop and immediately the studio just released a STL 3D print of it? I know they don't want to do that so that they can go license it to like many other different versions of companies that will sell versions of this. But I think that the first studio to do that will actually receive a lot of reward for that behavior. Thomas Esson says, when you were in the film industry, how much did you interact with the script? Very, very rarely. He's wondering if I had access to the script in full or in part. Never. Never at ILM or for any of the films I worked on did I have access to the full script. I just wasn't high enough on the food chain for that. And there is one story about this, which is when we were working on Star Wars episodes 1 and 2, we would frequently, for a model where we were building a set extension. A set extension is where someone's standing in a frame, but we build everything above them or below them or both. And this was for the Queen ship when R2 is out on the Queen ship and he repairs something. So we had the footage that they had cut into the rough cut, where you see R2, you see the animatic picture about the shot that you're building. You see a drawing of it, and it's cut into sequence into the film, into the rough cut. And then there's all the dialogue. You hear the dialogue, and in the dialogue, R2 does his thing, and then you cut to some control panel, and someone said, he bypassed the blankety blank. So I saw that rough cut animatic, the previs, and I heard that line. And then I went to my supervisor, Michael Lynch, who we recently interviewed on the channel. And I said, hey, this doodad that R2 affects with his arm, where is it going? He said, I left the space right here. You can put whatever you want. And he can just reach down and grab that. And I said, well, Michael, in the script, in the animatic, it says he bypassed the power coupler. So maybe there's a set. And Michael goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Maybe, that's the kind of thing that you and Don Bees are interested in. I don't really care about that. If you want to Do that, go ahead. You don't have to tell me about it. I always love that interaction. Michael Schnell says, do you ever get embarrassed telling people what you are working on? Sometimes I feel silly when I explain my current project out loud. How can one get over that self-consciousness? Well, it's always situationally based, right? I mean, I'm in line at the grocery store last week, and somebody walks past me. It's my local grocery store, and they're like, Adam, yeah. And he's like, hey, man, I just love your channel. It's meant a lot to me. Thank you so much for doing what you do. And then they moved on. And I was like, well, that's lovely. And I have that kind of interaction here in the Mission District a lot. After that guy goes away, the guy in front of me in line turns around and he's like, who are you? And there's a funny thing that happens when you have a fan interaction and then someone's witness to that, but they have no idea who you are. When they don't know who you are, they have none of the inhibitions of a fan. And so they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to take up some of your time now. And that's the moment when I often feel not embarrassed, but like, you say, who am I and what do I do? It's a big question. Am I going to give you my resume here? That would be weird. And on the other front, when people say, hey, do I know you? I go, yeah, Mythbusters. I'm not going to drag that dumb thing out any longer than it needs to be. That I learned that really early on. Just be respectful and tell people who you are. I have run into actors that don't like doing that, and it's boring. But at the same time, like, you know, Judy Greer's autobiography is called I Don't Know Where You Know Me From. She's shown up as a B character in so many things, and an A character in some wonderful things. But yeah, that's a totally different kind of deal. Yeah, it's funny. At one point, for the longest time, I had the Hellboy Mecha Hand in the foyer of my house, and we had a house guest staying with us from France, and she was like, what is this? And trying to explain the totality of why it exists, I did feel self-conscious about it. Yeah. How do I deal with that? You know, we do weird stuff. Embarrassment is it's not an emotion I am unfamiliar with. I have lived with it a long time. You know, over the years, I have learned not to take it personally. I have also learned that if I'm feeling embarrassed specifically in the middle of an interaction, that's plausibly the goal of the person talking to me. Not always, but here is some great life advice I have learned over the last decade, specifically being this old as an adult, which is when you are interacting with someone and you have a high level of emotional activation over this, whether it's high or happy or sad, high or low, depressed or angry, if your response to this interaction is high emotion, has a high emotionality to it, you can be pretty assured that same degree of emotionality is happening on the other side of the interaction. Unless you're like way overthinking stuff and taking it way too personally. The fact is that most interactions, it's a push and a pull. And it's helped me a lot to remember that like if someone's making me feel really on my back feet or really nervous, it might be because they're really nervous and on their back feet and they don't know what to do with it.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today, and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to Tested membership, and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.